Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody is doing great. Your friend Dean Kulaweera here. Every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern time zone, I'm right here to help you folks out with job search tips, advice, strategies, perspective, and a whole bunch of stuff to help you folks out in your job search, and also recruitment related stuff as well. So, I talk about that aspect of things as well. Just wanted to quickly check. Yes, looks like I am live and well. So don't be shy, folks. Feel free to introduce yourself in the comments. Let me know who you are, where you're tuning in from. I think we got some comments coming in here. We got Mohammed in the house. Mohammed says, good morning. Hey, good morning, Mohammed. Hope you're doing great. And good morning to you as well. If it is indeed morning where you're at. We got Shri Priya in the house. Good morning, Shri Priya. Good to have you here as usual. And thanks so much for tuning in. So what I'm going to be talking about today, folks, is responding to this question of why should we hire you? Okay, I'm not sure if it's a common question, but I know that some organizations out there do ask this question, like at interviews, right? When you're at an interview, you're meeting with the hiring team, the hiring manager, or maybe it's a recruiter, and they ask you at some point, "Hey, why should we hire you?" Or some alternative version of this question, like maybe worded a little differently. Look, whether you like this question or not, I'm not here to debate that. I know it might not be a very comfortable question. It might be, in some cases, might even come across as arrogant, right, on the part of the hiring team. But in any case, I want you folks out there to be prepared for this question, understand the mechanics behind this question, the essence of this question, so you can formulate an effective response. All right. So that's what I'm going to be speaking about today. Now, make sure you like, comment, and share. And by the way, if this is your first time tuning in, welcome. Appreciate you tuning in. And make sure you mark your calendars, because I do this every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern time zone. So mark your calendars. I talk about various job search tips, advice, and strategies. And of course, I respond to any questions you might have in the comments as well. This is my way of giving back, because I know I get a lot of questions and messages and a whole bunch of stuff, especially on LinkedIn. And sometimes it gets hard to, keep up with everyone's requests for assistance and all that. So I do this live stream to make sure I'm able to accommodate everyone in my network, whether you're following me on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, or any of the multiple social channels. I do the live stream on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter. So if you want to tune into the live stream, make sure you're tuning in on those platforms. And if you want the link for all my other social channels, just check out my Linktree page, which is linktr.ee/DK Tech Recruiter, linktr.ee/DK Tech Recruiter. That has all my social links. So whatever your favorite platform is, check me out on any of these platforms. If you want to check out my daily, so I do these daily 60-second job search video clips where I talk about, again, various job search tips and advice. I post those 60-second clips primarily on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, as well as my LinkedIn company page. All right, so check those out if you want those 60-second clips. I post them every day, so make sure you check those out. Also, make sure you subscribe to my LinkedIn newsletter. I release a new edition of the newsletter every Monday during the afternoons. This past week, what did I talk about this past week? I can't even. So on the recruitment side, I spoke about how organizations can reject candidates and still have candidates walk away with a positive impression of their brand. Very important, folks. If you're a hiring manager or a hiring team, you want every candidate in your pipeline to walk away with a positive impression of your brand, because who knows? I mean, it might be a great candidate you can't hire right now, but you might want to hire them in the future, right? So this is very important as part of your candidate experience. And the other thing I covered in this week's edition of my newsletter, which is for job seekers, is should you be focusing on individual accomplishments, or should you be focusing on collective team accomplishments and achievements at your job interview? So I covered those two topics this week on the newsletter. So make sure you subscribe for future editions. Every week it's a new topic, new topics for hiring teams as well as for job seekers. All right. Now, this stream is sponsored by Tech Recruiters 360, which is my IT recruitment business. So if you're an organization looking for tech talent, you're an IT professional here in Canada looking for your next career move, I'm your guy. Make sure you reach out to me, connect with me, send me a direct message for more information on how I can help you, or if you're a hiring team, how I can help your hiring team find your next, IT hire, right? This session is also sponsored by DK Global Talent, which is my training business. And also where I've created my course, Applying to Jobs Online 101, which is where I teach job seekers how to more effectively apply for jobs online and increase responses to your job applications. If you want more information about that, feel free to check out the website, dkglobaltalent.com/get responses. And if you want more information about the course, make sure you stick around until the end of the stream. I will speak a bit more about this course and let you know a bit more about what's included in that. All right. So that being said, let's get into today's topic, folks. Like today's topic, again, like I mentioned, is how do you respond to this question? When an employer, when a recruiter, when a hiring manager, interviewer, whatever it is, and whatever level at the organization too, right? Manager, senior manager, director, senior director, VP, C-level. I mean, I've seen hiring managers at various levels ask this question. Okay, and again, now I know some of you absolutely hate this question. I know if I'm to be honest, folks, I don't really like this question either. I don't like being asked this question because some of you out there might find it a bit arrogant, right? Like it's like, why should we hire you? Why should I work for you, right? Let's talk about that, right? So, but that all of that being aside, all of you need to be prepared for this question, right? Let me just quickly check the comments here. So Shripira says, based on the skills I have, I think I'm the best fit for this opportunity, and also I am a good learner. My strength is my ability to understand what my client exactly wants. So yeah, I'm looking for a company that I can add value to, so that I could produce a positive return on investment for where I could join a strong team. So that's Shripira's response. Pretty good response, Shripira. I mean, look, folks, there's different various approaches to responding to this question, right? Now, just to give you a heads up, I'm not going to be sharing some magical script with you folks today in how to respond to this question. My opinion, it's what's more important is understanding the fundamental, the philosophy, right? The essence behind the question. If you can understand the mechanics behind the question, then you can create your own customized, most effective way for how you can respond to this question. Because look, all of you out there, you have your own unique set of skills, experiences, types of projects you've done, types of industries you worked at, and just such a unique combination of what you bring to the table, right? So what I'm going to be talking about today is not some script that you can go home, go about and memorize, and that's going to be like the perfect response. No, that's not what I'm going to be talking about today, folks. What I'm going to be talking about today is to help you understand the essence behind this question, so you can go ahead and formulate a great response that you can provide if you are being asked this question. All right. So Peter, my friend Peter in the house. Peter says there's a worse question. Why should we choose you instead of the other candidates? Yeah, I mean, definitely, Peter. Again, I'm not a fan of this question. I don't like. I personally don't think it's a really good question to ask, like on the part of the hiring team, because again, it comes across. Personally, I feel it comes across as a little bit arrogant. It could depend on how it's being asked, the tone, the personality, the facial expression. That can definitely influence how you take this question. And yeah, I mean, the worst question would be, so why should we choose you instead of the other candidates, right? So definitely for sure. And by the way, also, folks, if you have an interest in PMO, right, you got to follow this guy, Peter. Peter posts a lot of, he's very involved in the PMO community. So make sure you follow him as well. Great to see you're here, and thanks for sharing that. We got Raphael in the house from Georgia, all the way from Georgia. Shout out to Raphael. Thanks so much for tuning in, Raphael. Hope you get some good information from today's session, and thanks for tuning in. So that being said, folks, I'm going to get into speaking about how you can start handling this question, all right? Now, the first thing is, before you even go about thinking about, okay, what should I say? How should I respond to this question? First thing we need to understand is what is really being asked here, right? Now, if you've been following me for a while, and I probably sound like a broken record right now, but I always tell you folks out there, do not take every question out there at face value. Let's not take every question that we're being asked at the interview at face value. So whenever you hear a question like this, right? Why should we hire you? Or whatever other question you're kind of struggling with and you find confusing, or you're like, okay, what are they really asking? What are they saying? What should I say? What's the perfect response to this? You should always examine, what are they really trying to find out here? What are they really asking here? And what is the essence of this question? Because if we examine this question at face value, right? Why should we hire you? The first thing most of us are tempted to do is we start thinking about, oh well, hey, I got to talk about how amazing I am, and how I did this, how I did that, and why I'm like the best person in the universe for this role and stuff like that. Now, that's certainly important. You want to highlight those aspects of yourself that really stand out, that are impressive, that are amazing. But that's just one part of it, folks. What I first want you to understand is that this is one of those questions where you need to where they're not really saying what they're really trying to find out. So when they say, why should we hire you, what they're really not saying, and the unspoken, what they're really wondering and thinking is, how are you going to help us? How are you going to help us? And what sets you apart from other candidates we're potentially considering for this role? That is the more expanded version of the question that they are really asking, right? Even though they're just saying, so why should we hire you, or why should we consider you compared to other candidates? What they're really wondering, what the hiring team is really wondering is, how are you going to help? Like, how are you going to be the ideal top candidate to help us out with this problem, with this project, or with these outcomes we're trying to achieve? And what sets you apart from other candidates that we're possibly considering for this same role? That is the essence of this question, right? And the reason why this is so important to understand is, this is where the missing component comes in, where a lot of you might be only talking about, something that you feel is impressive or exciting or amazing about yourself. Maybe you're talking about some accolade that you won from some project. Maybe you're talking about your favorite project. Maybe you're talking about your education. Maybe you're talking about just your whole career history, right? And that can definitely uh, kind of hit exactly what they want to hear from you. But we need to be more strategic in what we're talking about, right? Because again, if you've been following me for a while, you've heard me say this in the past as well. It's not just about everything. It's not just about what you find most impressive about yourself. It's about what's most relevant. Relevance is key, folks. You hear me talk about relevance all the time. Relevance is key when you're responding to this question or any other question for that matter, right? So when they're asking you this question, why should we hire you? What they're really asking, what they're really wondering inside their minds is, hey, how can this person help us with this specific project? And why should we consider this individual compared to all the other potentially great and amazing candidates we might be interviewing for this position as well, right? Now, I have three suggestions in regards to this, and when I say suggestions, what I'm talking about here is, let's examine the mechanics of this in a bit more detail. And there's two scenarios in which you will have to respond to this question, right? Two scenarios. Now, the first one is, you might get asked this question early on. I'm talking early on in the interview, maybe right after the initial chit chat and the introductions and blah 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 and all that stuff. Or maybe just earlier on in the conversation, right? They throw it to you like within the first 15-20 minutes or something like that. That is one possibility. The other possibility is, they interview you, you have the conversation, they interview you maybe close to the end. Now they're asking you, hey, it's been great meeting with you and blah blah blah. So ultimately, why should we go ahead and hire you, or why should we move ahead with you? Why do you think we should hire you for this position? Right now, before whatever those scenarios, right? Whether they're asking you this question early on, whether they're asking you this in the middle of the interview, or whether they're asking you this at the end of the interview, first thing you got to do, folks, is you have to analyze the job description. You have to analyze the job description, uh, because that is, I mean, you're not always gonna, and I'm gonna talk about how else you can kind of do this, but you got to analyze the job description and really kind of take note of, okay, based on the job description, what are the key problems and challenges that this organization is facing? Because ultimately, that's what they're trying to find out by asking this question about why should we hire you. Remember, going back to what I said before, what they're really asking is, how can this individual help us with this situation we got going on? And if all you have is a job description at the beginning, and a lot of you, that's all you have, right? All you have is a job description to go by. Especially if you're applying directly, you're not being represented by a recruiter, you don't have a point of contact at the organization just yet. All you have is a job description. And the job description, I'm not saying every job description out there is going to be accurate and an accurate reflection of what's required for the role. But if that's all you have, then that's what you got to kind of work with, at least at the initial stages of the interview process. So what all of you should be doing, if you're taking notes, you want to write this down. Step number one is you have to do a thorough analysis of the job description. And as a result of that analysis, you should be able to identify what are the key problems and challenges that this organization appears to be experiencing based on what I see in the job description, right? The job description can give a lot of clues as to what this is, right? Based on the requirements for the role. Every requirement for a role, folks, you should be able to derive from that a possible problem or challenge that responsibility helps resolve or helps kind of deal with, right? So you got to be analyzing the job description, and don't get lazy on me here, right? Don't just skim through the job description and be like, oh yeah, okay, they're just looking for blah blah blah, whatever. No, line by line, I want you to analyze the job description and figure out what are the key challenges, problems, issues, outcomes, KPIs that it appears that they want this individual in this role to accomplish. And you want to take note of those, because those are the potential challenges that the organization is facing, right? And if all you have is this job description, and then the next step is the interview, at least you have something now that describes the challenges, the problems that the organization is facing. So when they ask you, why should we hire you? Those are the things that you want to highlight when you're talking about yourself, right? You want to talk about the things that you've seen that appear to be major challenges and problems that this organization is facing. As a result of wanting to hire someone for the position, like right for this particular role that you're interviewing for. Because if you're not doing that, I mean, you're just talking about a whole bunch of stuff, right? And I know a lot of us that's the approach we take. We get asked this question, why should we hire you? We start talking about, oh well, I have 8 years of experience as a professional in such and such industry and field, and based on my knowledge and experience in such and such types of projects and my educational qualifications and blah 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 and da 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 da, and that's certainly one approach. But if you really want to get their attention, folks, if you really want to hit their attention and really hook them in and reel them in, you have to, as much as possible, speak to the challenges that they're facing. It all comes down to the hiring motivation, right? They're not sitting there for fun, folks. They're not sitting there for fun. They're not sitting there they just want to hear everything about you. Right? It's not about everything about you. It's about what's relevant to the hiring team, right? So, and the best way, if you really want to, again, I know I sound like a broken record, but it really comes down to this. If you can speak to the hiring motivation, the motivation to hire, why the hiring team is looking to hire right now, if you can speak to that, that is where the gold is. Now, I'm not saying 100% this is going to result in you suddenly magically getting a job offer. I'm not saying that, but at least it's going to put you in the top tier of candidates that they might want to consider for this role. And you can't do that if you're not speaking directly to the challenges, the problems, the outcomes, the KPIs they want to achieve. And the first step is analyzing the job description in order to accomplish this. So that way, when they talk about, hey, why should we hire you? Then you can say, well, Mr. and Mrs. Hiring Manager, based on my analysis of your job description, which I went through prior to this interview, it appears based on the job description. And by the way, Mr. and Mrs. Hiring Manager, I'm not sure how accurate the job description is as a reflection of what you folks are currently experiencing. But based on my analysis, X, Y, and Z appear to be the major challenges that you're looking to resolve in this position by hiring someone for this position. And based on that, then you go into talking about your experience tied in with those challenges that they appear to want to be wanting to resolve as a result of hiring for the position. So then you might go into, well, based on these challenges that I derive from the job description, my experience in blah, 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 and da, 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 and ABC and XYZ and whatever it is, kind of present me as the ideal candidate for the role, given my experience in those areas and my ability to resolve those challenges that you might be facing right now in your at your organization in relation to this project, right? So you folks get what I'm saying, right? You have to tie it in directly with the hiring motivation. Like that is the most that is the most efficient and effective way for you to respond to this question. So that's one scenario. All you have is a job description. Then guess what, folks? You got to analyze the job description, kind of determine what the potential problems, challenges, hiring motivation might be. And that's how you're going to be most effectively able to respond to this question. Now, the second scenario is you have a point of contact. You have a point of contact at the organization. Maybe you're being represented by a staffing agency, a recruitment agency. Maybe there's an internal recruiter who's your primary point of contact. Or maybe you have a buddy, you have a friend, you have a buddy, they're on the same team and they're providing you with they have the ability to provide you with some inside information in terms of what's important for this role, what are they really looking for, what are the problems, what are the challenges. Then in this second scenario, you have to leverage this, whoever this point of contact is, for this intel, for this information. You have to ask them, hey, so what are the key challenges in this role? What are the key challenges in this project? Why are you folks looking to hire right now? Can you give me some information? Can you share more information about that? Well, the better you're able to gather that intel and that information, the better you're going to be prepared to respond to this question. And this is definitely, I would say, definitely more ideal than simply the job description, folks. Just because I know that there are companies out there where the job description is something way more generic, or some generic template, versus actually speaking to what's happening at the organization. So this is definitely ideal. So if you can get a point of contact internally, if you have a point of contact, again, most cases it's going to be the agency recruiter that's representing you, or it's going to be the corporate internal recruiter that who is your primary point of contact, or it could be maybe the HR manager as well, HR manager, HR coordinator, maybe it's your friend who's on the same team that's hiring for this role. Whoever it is, folks, that is more effective than the job description. So see if you can get in contact with this individual and get more intel and more context about the hiring motivation and what the challenges are that they're experiencing that is motivating them to want to hire someone, and what they want this ideal candidate to bring on board for this project, right? That would be the second scenario. That would be ideal. Now, the third scenario is, maybe you don't have a very good job description, or maybe the job description is very, very, like I mentioned, very generic. Okay, it's not a direct reflection of what's going on at the organization. Maybe you don't have a point of contact, right? No recruiter, no agency representing you, nobody on the same team. It's just you apply for the job, they give you a quick call, they're like, hey, we want to interview you. Bam, that's it. They schedule the interview, that's it. So now you're going straight into the interview. What can you do, right? Well, in this scenario, and some of you might be a little freaked out by this, but in this scenario, folks, you have to be gathering your intel at the interview itself, right? So this is where it might be a bit of a challenge, but for those of you, and again, kind of tying back to my first suggestion, this is why it's so important to analyze the job description, right? Because in most cases, 99% of the time, you will have a job description that you can kind of use to prepare. So you have to leverage that. But also, what you also want to be doing is throughout the interview, you have to be taking steps to gather intel. You got to gather more intel and better understand the hiring motivation, right? You have no choice, because now if all you have is a job description, you don't have any internal person that you can or point of contact to gather the intel. You have to make steps in seeing how you can gather more intel about. Sorry, I think I got cut off there for a bit, folks. So my apologies for that. But hopefully, let me know in the comments if you can see me back here, back on the stream. But this is what you got to do. Like at the interview itself, you got to be gathering your intel at the interview itself, because you're right in front of the person that might be potentially hiring you for the position, right? I mean, this is going to be the individual that you're going to be reporting to directly, or maybe it's a member of the team, maybe it's team members out there that are part of the team, maybe it's stakeholders, whatever it is. Like, now is a good opportunity for you to gather intel on the interview itself. So this is where, again, you might want to ask questions yourself throughout the conversation, and I've spoken about this in the past as well. But this is where you might want to be asking questions to understand the role, the hiring motivation itself, right? And this is where you might ask, So, why are you looking to hire at this time? What are the key challenges you're facing right now? What are you looking for in an ideal candidate for this position? Why is that important to you? What do you want the ideal candidate to accomplish within the first 30 days, 60 days, 90 days? Like, asking questions like this is going to better help you understand why this hiring for this role is important in the first case, and also what they hope to accomplish by hiring for this position, right? So this is where you're gathering intel on the interview itself, right? And I know this is not ideal for a lot of you folks out there, but at the interview itself, sometimes that's what it comes down to. Like, we have no choice but to gather this intelligence on the interview itself, right? So this is where you're going to be asking questions, better understanding the hiring motivation, so that when they do ask you this question, so why should we hire you? You have more information about what's really moving them, what's really making them want to interview people for this role, right? And the better your understanding of that, the better your understanding of their challenges, the hiring motivation, the project, and all that stuff, the more effective your response is going to be in responding to this question, folks. So that's my message to you today. That's the whole point of what I want to talk about on today's stream is the better your understanding about the challenges, the hiring motivation, the project, all that contextual information. That is what's going to enable you to better respond to this question: why should we hire you, right? So if there's nothing else you want to take away from today's stream, folks, there's no scripted ideal response to this. There's no magical ideal response. The best response should speak to whatever challenges the organization is facing, right? Whether it's in relation to the project, whether it's in relation to the outcomes, the KPIs they want to achieve, it's all based on that. And based on that, if your response to why should we hire you can connect to that, that's how you're going to really grab their attention, really hook them and reel them in, and really help them see that, hey, this individual really understands why we're looking to hire right now. They seem to understand that. They seem to highlight the most relevant aspects of their background, and we're seeing how they can really fit into this position or a part of this team, and really deliver in this role, so that hey, it increases your chances of being one of those candidates that are uh, one of those candidates that they really want to consider for the role, right? So look, hope these tips helped. Apologies for that bit of a mix-up. I know I kind of disappeared from the stream for a bit there, so my apologies for that. But look, hope that helps, folks. And I know I might have missed some of the comments before. I know there were some questions, so let me just go back to some of those comments there. But in the meantime, feel free to drop your questions in the comments. If you have any questions about this particular topic or anything job search related, I'm happy to open it up to questions right now. So feel free to put that in the comments. And don't forget to hit like. Don't forget to comment. Don't forget to share as well if this segment would be helpful to anyone in your network. And I'm going to get into the question shortly. So let me see if I can. So yeah, Rafael, thanks for confirming that. Appreciate that. Amanda says, thank you for sharing this comment. No worries, Amanda. Appreciate the feedback. Hope this was helpful. So let me go back to before. I know there were some questions before, and I can't see those questions anymore because I had that technical glitch there. So let me quickly, no, it's not that. So bear with me a few seconds, folks. In the meantime, put in your questions in the comments while I pull up those other questions you folks or comments you folks might have put up earlier. Let's see here. Let's see. Yeah, we got some comments here. Okay, so we got Ramandeep in the house. Ramandeep says, "Love it." Hey, I appreciate that, Ramandeep. Appreciate your comment. We got Danelle from who's put the Canadian flag. Always good to see my fellow Canadians there. So shout out to Danelle. Thanks so much for tuning in. So Krupa says, I always research the job description and company culture, try to find out the challenges the team is facing, and then I highlight my experience of improvising these areas and how I can make an impact. Yeah, excellent, Krupa. That's exactly what you should be doing, folks. Like, research is so important. Like, you got to research, and I would add to that, Krupa, like, not just the company and all that, but also something a lot of you might not be doing is research the interviewers themselves. Like, if you know who's going to be interviewing you, you definitely have to be interviewing the individual who's going to be interviewing you, right? So that's definitely something you also want to add into it. And yeah, Krupa, definitely support what you're doing in terms of researching and trying to find out the challenges the team is facing. This is so key when they're talking about why should we hire you, right? You have to do that. Peter says, "Why should we hire you? You don't have to if you don't if you don't want your problem to be." Peter, I just love your humor and your comments. So Peter says, "Why should we hire you?" Well, you don't have to if you don't want your problem to be solved. that's a, that's funny. But that being said, folks, hey, I would not recommend you providing that as a response. But just appreciate that, Peter. Always love your humor, which you bring into to these sessions. Sunita says, excellent. Hey, no worries, Sunita. Hope you got good information out of this. We got Rafael Campos da Silva from Vancouver. We got Vancouver in the house. Thanks so much for tuning in, Rafael. So looks like that is it for the comments I missed. We got Rafael who has a question. So Rafael says, can you give a small scenario of answering a question specific to a company's needs in an interview? Rafael, I'm not sure I understand the question. Can you clarify that a bit more? I'm happy to answer your question, but if you can clarify that a bit more, my friend, that would be very helpful. So let me just read this question again, just to see if I can understand it. Can you give a small scenario of answering a question specific to a company's needs in an interview? Maybe you can give me an example, Rafael. Maybe that might help me understand. So just let me know about that. We got Wendy Mao in the house. Wendy says, thanks a lot. Very helpful. Hey, no worries, Wendy. Hope this session was helpful. So yeah, folks, look, it goes back to, and I say this all the time, right? And today's topic was responding to why should we hire you? Don't examine the question just at face value. Always ask yourself, what is really being asked here? And you gotta, and I know this is easier said than done. I know it's easier said than done. Within split seconds or maybe in a minute, you have to do this mentally, right? But what I want you folks to do is whenever you're asked a question, right? Maybe it takes a couple of seconds for you to do this, but you have to literally remove yourself from your own brain and shift yourself into the seat of the interviewer, right? Pretend you're the interviewer, pretend you're the hiring manager, the recruiter, the manager, the director, the VP, the C-level executive, whoever it is that's asking you this question. You have to be able to lift yourself and put yourself in their shoes and ask yourself, why would it be important for me to ask this question? Why is it important if I was the interviewer, if I was the manager, the recruiter, blah, 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 whatever, why would I be asking this question? Why would this question be important for me to ask? And if you can do that, folks, and I know it's easier said than done. I know it might take you a couple of seconds, maybe even 20, 30 seconds to do this. Like if you can master this ability to put yourself in the interviewer's shoes, then you will be in a much stronger position to understand what type of a response you should deliver, right? So when it comes to this question, why should we hire you? What you should be immediately thinking is, mentally you should be thinking, okay, the reason why they're asking this is they're trying to find out how I'm going to help them with their specific problems and challenges. And they also want to find out why should they consider me compared to other maybe amazing other candidates that they might be considering for this role, who might also be able to potentially help them with this project, right? So that's really what they're asking. And if you know that, if you understand the essence of this question, you're going to better be able to respond to this question. Because if I know that, then I know, hey, I got to be talking about, I know that their challenges are XYZ. I got to be highlighting about myself, my experience with resolving challenges XYZ. And that's how you're going to know, okay, I should be talking about this. I should be talking about this. I should be highlighting this. And I should be emphasizing this in my background experience. And again, if you can do that, folks, that's how you're going to, really get their attention. I'm not saying this is going to 100% result in an offer letter, but what I'm saying is this is really going to get their attention. If you can speak to the problems, the challenges that they're facing, because ultimately, folks, that's what they need your help with, right? They need your help with some specific set of challenges, if not one or two, some specific set of challenges. So always remember this and always keep this in mind. We got, so Rafael says, since you said it's better not to speak to your accolades, but more to how they can help the company. Yeah, so Rafael, I'm not saying don't speak about your accolades. I'm certainly not saying that. What I'm saying is you got to speak about the relevant accolades, right? So don't just talk about what I'm trying to say here is a lot of people, what they're doing when they're responding to these kind of questions, like why should we hire you, or what makes you a top candidate for this role? A lot of people, what and this includes me. Like I've done this in the past as well. I'm thinking about what I like about myself, what I find impressive about my achievements, my accomplishments, my accolades, and all that stuff. But the point I'm trying to make today is it's not about what we think is impressive about ourselves. It's all about what would be most relevant to the hiring team, right? So, for example, let's say I have a whole bunch of accomplishments and stuff like that. And based on my research of the organization, based on my analysis of the job description, I find out, okay, this hiring team, their biggest challenge right now is they're dealing with, I don't know, difficult stakeholders in the construction industry. So what does that tell me? That tells me I got to talk about my experience in those areas. Like that's what I should highlight when they're asking me why should they hire me. So I want to talk about my ability, my strong ability with conflict resolution, dealing with difficult stakeholders, moving things forward, and also doing that in the construction industry. If I have experience in the construction industry, that's what I want to highlight. I want to talk about that stuff, right? When I'm talking about why they should hire me, right? So it's not about I'm not saying don't talk about your accolades. I'm not saying don't talk about your accomplishments, your achievements, or anything like that. The key here, folks, is relevance, right? If you're taking notes, write that down, folks. Circle it. Circle the word relevance. It's all about relevance. That's what's going to get their attention. And if that means, Rafael, one of your accolades or a couple of your accolades, as if it's relevant, that's what's going to get their attention. And the same thing goes for your experience, the types of projects you worked at, the industries you worked at, your educational qualifications, your credentials. It's all about relevance, my friend. All right. So hope that helps, Rafael. Hope that clears things up. So that being said, folks, it looks like there's no more questions. Those of you who want more information about my course, which I mentioned at the beginning, if one of your biggest challenges right now, folks, is you're applying for jobs, you're not getting responses, check out more information about my course, which is Applying to Jobs Online 101. More information about that at dkglobaltalent.com/get responses. The reason why I created this course is because I was constantly hearing about one of the biggest challenges that people are experiencing is they're applying for jobs and they're not getting responses, right? And the problem is usually not your resume. It's not your resume. It's not that you lack experience. It's not that you're not intelligent. It's not that you don't have potential and ability. It's simply because your application is getting lost amongst hundreds, if not thousands of other applications, right? So what I teach in my courses, and it's by the way, it's a 3-hour course, 3 hours. You can complete it in one sitting. You can complete it over a couple of days and you have lifetime access to it. What I do is I teach you how to make use of direct messaging, right? So my philosophy has always been be proactive, right? I don't like when people are passive and just waiting for things to happen. So in my course, I talk and I teach you how to make direct contact with hiring managers through the use of direct messaging, so that you can increase your visibility to hiring teams and getting communication with them and increase your chances of getting responses to your job applications. All right. So in this course, I teach the most effective way to formulate your messages, the 4 components of an effective direct message, and just 3 hours worth of content. It's a mix of video as well as reading material as well. So if you want more information about this, right now it's at special pricing. It's $97 Canadian one time. It's a one-time investment, lifetime access. And check out this page for there's other testimonials and feedback as well from other people who have taken the course and gotten results and more responses as a result of the information that they've applied as a result of taking the course. All right. So again, dkglobaltalent.com/get responses for more information on that. All right. So that being said, folks, that's it for today's session. Appreciate everyone who tuned in. So Rafael says, indeed, thanks for the advice. Hey, no worries, Rafael, and all the best to you in your job search. So again, final message, folks. Please, if there's nothing else you took away from today's session, relevance. Okay, relevance. When you're not sure what to talk about, when you're not sure, even going over your resume, you're like, okay, I have so much stuff, Dean, I don't know what to write about on my resume. Relevance. Dean, I don't know which educational qualifications I should talk about. I don't know which educational credentials I should talk about. Relevance. Dean, I have so many projects I've completed. I've done this project, I've done this project, I've done this project. I don't know which one to talk about. Which should I talk about? Relevance. Dean, I worked in so many different, I've done so many different projects at school. I've done so many different assignments. I've done so many different side projects. I have so many different things in my portfolio I've been doing on my own. Which should I talk about? Relevance. Folks, it's all about relevance, all right? It's all about relevance. Remember, be able to lift yourself out of your own mind and put yourself in the mind of the interviewer. If you can do that, folks, you're a step ahead of like so many other people out there, right? If you can do that, if you can master that skill, If you can do that, you're going to be able to respond to the questions in such a way that's going to grab the attention of the person asking the question. All right. So look, hope this session helped, folks. Remember, mark your calendars every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern time zone. I'm right here to talk about various types of, job search related topics. If there's any particular topics you want me to cover specifically, feel free to drop it in the comments. I'll do my best to cover your topic in a future session. And if not, I'll answer your questions, in future segments as well. All right. Have a fantastic week, folks. Don't give up. Stay positive. Keep taking action. And remember, it's all about relevance, folks. Have a fantastic remainder of the week.